Patrick Holloway, it is time for an extension.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen.
Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our team. On today's episode, I want to talk about why we should extend Dylan Holloway after his amazing performance last night, getting a hat trick. The Blues, I'm afraid they're not going to tank. And then finally, are we feeling blue? Where every single Friday, I ask you if this was a good week or if this was a bad week for our boys in blue. We have a lot to get to on today's episode, but I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel and $20 off your first purchase. I hope every single one of you is having a happy Friday. I know I am. I'm sure you are. I mean, how can you not be happy with Blues hockey coming back? I feel as if I need to put this disclaimer out here. I love watching the Blues. I do. What I don't love is watching this team implode, which I have seen plenty. And for me, last night's game was an example of why we need to re-sign some of our guys that are going to be free agents. And I am talking about Dylan Holloway. Dylan Holloway put up a hat trick last night, and it was it was amazing to see his return to the ice, followed by an incredible offensively dominant performance for Holloway. It was funny. When I was watching the game, I was obviously, half asleep. I'm tired, and towards the end, he got the hattie. I saw in the comment section Oilers fans saying that Edmonton should have never let him go. And we all knew the talent that Dylan Holloway had. I mean, this doesn't have to be said, but he was one of the upcoming stars to be on Edmonton, but they didn't want to pay him the money. So here he is with us wearing the blue note. Now, I bring this up because the other guy that came over on the offer sheets, Filip Broberg, he got a nice hefty 6-year extension. Now, Dylan Holloway was obviously on IR since I believe the middle-ish of December. So again, you could not expect to see him get an extension when he's on IR, right? But now that he's off, he came back with a dominant performance. I feel as if it is time for the Blues front office to give Hollywood Holloway an extension. He is a vital part to the offensive core, and in my opinion, he deserves the money. Now, I know what you're going to say. How much money do you think he's worth? Well, that's a good question. And this is a question that I have debated. Now, I can't say how many years it's going to be, right? Broberg's was 6. I don't know what the years would be like for Holloway, but what I can do, my friends, is I can say per year AAV, we're looking maybe between 6.5 and 7.1. Would that be fair to say? I think that he does deserve the money. Now, some of you might say, Hale, he's a little bit under that. He's a little bit over. Whatever you want to say, that's fine. But that's where I'm aiming towards. I can't tell you how many years I think the Blues would extend him for. I don't know if it would be 6 years like Filip Broberg, but it definitely would be more than 3 and less than 7. So anything in between that I could see happening. But anywho, it is important that the Blues act fast because he's going to be somebody that teams are going to go after immediately as the season ends. And he's not somebody, in my opinion, that you should want to trade away. I know that he could get you some value, but again, this is how I felt with Robert Thomas and the talks about him potentially being traded. It's going to hurt your team more than help your team rebuilding, having those two guys gone, so to say, right? So that's why for me, I am a big believer in keep Dylan Holloway. He is a part of the young core. And I don't know if I really trust everything that Dougie A says, only because he said that about Zach Bolduc, about how he was a part of the the core, and then obviously they traded him. But Holloway is obviously significantly better. 24 years old, still young, and has a lot of time left to really get into his prime. I mean, this season, he's only played 35 games, again, due to the injury, but 11 goals and 10 assists with 21 points, which is good to see. I mean, last night, obviously, was a great night for Dylan Holloway, as he was able to gain 4 points, by the way, my friends. He also had an assist. So this is something that you really want to see from him. He also played about 16 minutes last night. And the reason why I bring this up is the game against Edmonton. Was it Edmonton in January? Yeah. He played like 12 minutes, but yeah, he was then dealing with injury. He came back for like one game. So when I say like mid-December, it's because he literally in January came back for like a millisecond. It wasn't anything significant. But being said, that is why, again, he deserves the money. And we can look back on his stats, especially from last season. He played in 77 games with 26 goals and 37 assists with 63 points. And the reason why I bring up last season is because that was the most he's ever played in a single NHL season. With Edmonton, again, he did play in those Stanley Cup final games in the playoffs, but he didn't play a full season. So we've yet to see Dylan Holloway play a full season, which again is definitely frustrating. But when you accumulate the injuries and you put that into play, you can't be mad at him because a lot of it is out of his control. So it does make sense as to why maybe the numbers are not adding up the same way that we see Jake Neighbors or Robert Thomas or even Filip Broberg, and Broberg's dealt with injuries. So it's impossible, in my opinion, to go through an entire NHL season without dealing with some sort of injury. I mean, even if a guy doesn't come out of the roster, they're all dealing with something. And for Holloway, I know he's a tough guy. I know that he was working really hard to get back. So again, I mean, what a statement by Dylan Holloway last night to get a hat trick on home ice. And that's another thing that I wanted to point out. I'm a big hat trick enthusiast, you can say. I love hat tricks. I always want to see hat tricks. Hat tricks are my happy thing when it comes to hockey. Hat trick Haley. No one calls me that. I just gave myself that nickname, and that was kind of cringy. But on home ice, getting a hattie like that, woo! Now, that was pretty cool to see. And it's not even just me saying that. Like, I feel like any single person that's a hockey fan, right? Doesn't matter who your team is, always appreciates when a player gets a hat trick on their home ice, just because it is really cool to see. But again, it was a big 5-1 victory for our boys in blue over Seattle. And I told you that if Seattle loses this game, they have a lot more to risk because, again, falling out of being in a playoff spot. So for the Blues, they really shouldn't have won. Now, they did play better, and they outplayed the Kraken. Joel Hofer looked great in net. The reason why I'm a little bit annoyed about this, again, it's just because #tank for McKenna, but I can't hold this against the Blues for winning. It just sucks because I don't want them to get points at all. But hey, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I'll take the win. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to dwell on the fact that they won, but we're going to talk in more detail about why I'm afraid they won't tank and what player said in the pre-game interview with the broadcast team. He talked about, well, maybe a turnaround after breaks that they've experienced in the past. The Blues do host the Devils tomorrow, and on Sunday, the Minnesota Wild. So again, these are two teams that you should expect to see wins from, not the Blues, but the Devils and Wild. However, I am afraid, and I do not by any means want the Blues to win. I know that sounds actually very against the Blues, and I am for the Blues. All right, I'll talk to you about that right after this. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the right people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hire? This is for Indeed sponsored jobs. I also want to tell you about something that I love that's very cool, because our network, the Locked On Podcast Network, has something called the Everydayer Club. I know you've heard me talk about it. I know some of you have joined it. It is ad-free audio, and you also get access to a group chat on Discord and so much more. And the network was like, you know what? We want everybody to experience this without paying a single penny. So up until the trade deadline, which again is March 6th, if you use code DEADLINE, you get access for 1 month free. So the link will be down below, but I highly encourage anyone who is even a little bit curious about the Everydayer Club to check it out. You also just get the advantage of having the ad-free audio. So again, the link will be posted down below in the description. But again, that is lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. I am afraid the Blues won't tank. And it's very simple as to why I feel this way. The win last night showed me that this team still has some fight in them. Now, I did mention to you heading into break that there was a player that said something about how this team reacts post breaks and pauses in the NHL schedule. And that player was Captain Braden Shen. He spoke with the broadcast ahead of last night's contest. And he said that this team has a fire and a spark to them. And again, that proved in last night's contest. I mean, we saw a dominant performance by a bunch of the guys. We saw, obviously, Dylan Holloway, Kyrou scoring, and even P.U. Suter getting on the board. We also saw Jack Finley, who is now wearing the blue note, the same number 37, like his father, Jeff, who once wore the blue note for us. So it was a really big game last night in the sense that the guys made a statement. And that, to me, worries me. I'm not worried because I think the Blues are going to end up going to the playoffs and they're going to be a first-round exit. I don't think that. What I'm worried about is the fact that there are so many bad teams in the NHL right now, and the Blues really cannot afford to win when all these other teams are tanking, because let's face it, the odds of getting McKenna are, they're going to be slim because it's up to a ping pong ball. And if you get the first overall draft pick, you're getting Gavin McKenna. The problem is every other team wants Gavin McKenna. So the teams that are not playing well, they're going to end up selling at the deadline, having a mostly AHL-looking team, and they're going to end up getting higher odds to get Gavin McKenna. If the Blues don't sell at the deadline, as I mentioned, that's in 1 week, this could be a disaster because, again, the Blues have a tendency of not being able to do things correctly on both ends of the stick. They can't seem to figure it out when it comes to winning, and they can't figure it out when it comes to tanking. And I know what you're saying. Oh my gosh, like whoever wants their team to purposely lose. Okay, I do if it can get me the first overall draft pick. I mean, the last time we had the first overall draft pick is when we got Eric Johnson, and not for nothing, but that didn't really work out so well. So again, I'm not trying to be difficult here on this podcast. I'm just trying to be realistic. So there is a part of me that is excited that we're playing teams like the Devils and the Wild, only because, yes, they are better teams than us. Do I think, though, that there is still a possibility that the Blues end up playing some of their best hockey during the stretch? And the answer is, unfortunately, absolutely. We saw this last year with the Blues after the Four Nations face-off. When they came back, they went on that insane 12-game win streak. And I don't think that this team has it within them. I don't. But I am afraid for if that happens. If they go on a win streak, this is the worst possible time to do it. Because, and I'm going to pull up some of the standings right now because I just want you to get a better idea of why I am so concerned when it comes to where the Blues are going to be. Because the Rangers, oh, by the way, last night going to overtime and losing, they got 1 point. Well, guess what? Now they're ahead of us when it comes to being the worst team. So we're now 30th. We're the third worst team in the NHL. Here's the issue. We have 51 points. Chicago has 53. Winnipeg has 54. Calgary has 54. The Devils have 58. But I think the Devils are a much better team than the Blues because of Jack Hughes. I'll leave it at that. Okay, right? The San Jose Sharks have 58 points. The LA Kings have 60. The Preds have 61, and the Leafs have 63. And I don't think we have to worry about anybody else, so to say. But, I mean, the Canucks have 43 points, and the Rangers have 51. It's just the Rangers' record puts them ahead of us when it comes to being the worst team. So that is an issue. The Blackhawks are on a 2-game losing streak. Both the Canucks and Rangers lost in overtime. The Blues have won. That's an issue. And what you're hoping for right now is like the Flames have won too. Winnipeg won. But then you have the Devils who are on a 5-game losing streak. So that's where you really need to be cognitive to the literal fact that we could blow being a bottom team. And the Wild, I mean, when it comes to being one of the better teams, they have 80 points. They're having a great season. They're actually the 4th best team in the league which is insane. I mean, if we want to look at division, right, because it's not like ours is going to be so impressive. Well, let me say this. Ours is impressive. We're not impressive. We're dead last. We're 8th in our division. Colorado has 85 points and the Wild have 80. Dallas has 79. Utah has 64. The Preds 61, and the rest. So in that sense, awesome. Like, I love that we're last, but we need to be losing. And I don't think we're going to be able to catch up to the Canucks. Isn't that crazy, catching up? But I'm saying it as in losing. But the Canucks, I mean, 43 points. I truly don't know how you can be that bad of a team. That's kind of crazy. But again, that's how you tank the right way. But even if you lose just like that, and I'm talking about the Canucks, you still may not be getting the first overall pick, right? It's up to the ping pong balls. So while your chances are definitely higher, there's still a possibility that the team that's 31st in the league could get it. I just don't want the Blues to blow their chance of having an opportunity to get a really good star player. And that's what concerns me. If they go on a winning streak now, as much as I love to see the Blues win, I do. Last night's game was fun. I can't help but think, would I rather see this team lose most of their games going on out and get a really good draft pick? Or would I rather see a couple of nice wins and enjoy that? I don't it's so backhanded, right? But again, I mean, you don't see teams like San Jose complaining with what they have. They have a lot of good young prospects. And while they're not having the best season, they have a lot of talent. So does Chicago. I mean, even though they're not doing good, right, they still have a lot of talent. All right. we have a segment called Are We Feeling Blue, where I talk about if this was a good week or a bad week for the St. Louis Blues. But I want to talk to you about something, but we're going to get back to Are We Feeling Blue because I have a very interesting take. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. And now, not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started and use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I also want to remind you again about the Everydayer Club. Use code DEADLINE up until March 6th, which is the trade deadline, and you get 1 month free. And you get ad-free audio episodes of Locked On Blues as well as the Discord. Are we feeling blue? Was this a good week or is this a bad week for the St. Louis Blues? I mean, it's a good week. Let me say it like this. I'm happy the Blues won. I'm happy Dylan Holloway got the hat trick. What I'm not happy about is a few things. Number one, Mojo, he did clear waivers, so he is assigned to the T-Birds, which I'm not surprised about in any single way. I like that there's a lot of rumors about potentially Justin Folk being traded. That's always good. Oscar Sundqvist had a baby, so shout out to him. But again, I need something. Robert Thomas, no really update on him, but I really, really need something big. I need a big trade, and that's what's coming to me. Now, I don't think necessarily it's going to be Robert Thomas that gets traded. I've been thinking about it a lot because of all the rumors, and I feel like all I am seeing are rumors about Robert Thomas. And I feel like, again, it would be a very stupid decision. It's not even just me saying that. It's you saying that. We're all saying that. All of us Blues fans who live and breathe the Blue Note, we all know that would be a very dumb decision. However, well, how does Army feel? What is his thought process on this? And that's what makes me concerned, is that I'm afraid that Army might make a decision that's a little bit impulsive. And I just get very nervous. I can't tell you how devastating it would be for Robert Thomas to be traded. It would be the worst day of my life. It would be that upsetting to me. It would be heartbreaking. It would be infuriating. It would really make me crash out. And I've been thinking about it, right? Because he's not only my favorite player, right? But he's the guy that I said is one day going to wear the C. He's going to be captain one day. I feel it. I root for him. And I really don't know what identity would be left with the Blues. I feel like if you trade Robert Thomas, then at this point, trade Binnington. Get rid of everyone. Get rid of Parayko. I think Parayko's name has been out there as somebody that's going to be traded. I don't know what I would do if the Blues traded Robert Thomas. I really don't know what I would do. It's kind of like when the Blues lost to the Jets last year, and I was doing a live stream, and I went completely silent. And I just stared into the screen for 45 seconds, shocked. That's how I would react. I would be flabbergasted. I would be shocked. I would be confused. And it makes me very anxious, actually, my friends, that we're 1 week away from the deadline, and I'm still seeing all of these rumors about Robert Thomas. And I don't know if I can take it. it makes me just very on edge because, again, he is the best player on the Blues. And yes, I'm excited about the younger guys, and I can't deny that, right? I am very excited about Dvorsky and Snuggie and Otto. Like, I'm very excited. But honestly, apparently, there's a big asking price for Robert Thomas, and I am kind of freaking out. And there's been a lot of people talking about it. And Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic said Armstrong has made it clear what the asking price for Thomas is: 3 first half of the first round assets. For example, that could mean an established young player, a drafted prospect, and a draft pick who were all selected or could be taken in the first 15 of the picks. So in that self, that's very big, right? And that's what makes me very nervous about it. It's going to be a big asking price. And there's this quote that I'm going to read that's kind of about it, right? Quote, again from Jeremy, but between that and another team coming up with the assets Armstrong is asking for, it seems unlikely that'll be pulled off before the deadline. Which makes me think, is there going to be a trade over the summer? You get what I'm saying? And Haley doesn't like this. Like literally, besides being a podcast host, I'm a fan first. And I really can't say it's a good week knowing that there's a chance that RT18 might be gone. I don't think I would be okay. I don't even know how to end this episode with a happy like outro because I'm genuinely like anxious about it. It's going to be a long week. I don't think Robert Thomas should be traded, but again, this is the St. Louis Blues we're talking about. It's been nothing but disappointing this season. So my expectations are not very high at the moment. Oh, well. All right, I'll talk to you later. And of course, I will be posting if anything happens. I might even do an episode tomorrow previewing the game because I just miss hockey. Okay. Bye, guys. And like always, let's go Blues.